Welcome back. This is Jeff Byers and this is Andy235, and we are creating a stylistic face, and this is part 11. So let's go ahead and continue working. We've got to do a couple things. We've got to finish up the mouth, the nose, the eye, and the ear. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go to the front view of my head. And I know my reference looks a little bit different than yours, but don't worry. Let's see here. There we go. Alright. Okay, so what we're going to do is go to the front view, and you still have your reference in. So I want you to double click on this edge loop right here. Now I don't want to extrude the rest of this, so what we'll have to do is actually, let's go ahead and deselect that and just select it one at a time. Let's go ahead and just select these pieces in here. Okay. Alright. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and extrude. So Control E. Okay. And we're just going to go ahead and move these in. Okay, now we have to be careful, they're going to cross over right away. So I just want you to extrude it just a little bit, and then let's get in a little bit closer, and you can see that it's crossed over already. So let's zoom in a little bit more and pull that back a little bit to where it doesn't cross over. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys do this. I'm going to right click over and go to vertex. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys move these away from each other like this. And then I want you to go ahead and follow the topology of the reference, right? Follow the reference here, the topology of the reference. There we go. And do that with the side view as well. Once we get that done. Now I'm going to have to snap that in, so I'm going to click on the snap tool, snap to grid tool, and snap that, whoops, and just go this way. There we go. And I'm going to turn that off again. There we go, so we get that snapped. And then I'm going to go into this one here, do the same exact thing. We're going to move this in, we're going to move this in. We're just following the topology of our reference, our template that I've given you. There we go. And you have to be careful of vertices behind, not to get those messed up. That's really important. Okay, that looks good. And from the side view, okay, from the side view, I want you to follow, go in there, and I want you to follow the topology then from the side view, okay, like what I'm doing here, okay. That's really important. Okay, so that looks good, and then let's do this. Let's go in here and just kind of move that around, move this around, and then we've got a couple right in here. We're going to move this one back like this, and then this one back like this. So you get the idea of how it should look. Okay. And you can get all this done by just looking at your side view. Okay, so I'm just kind of getting all that in there, and I'm going to go back in here and select this guy right here and move that down and back. There we go. Alright, so I'm not too worried about the corner of the mouth just yet. Okay, so I'm going to move, yeah, that one looks okay. That one's back in there for sure. I might pull that back out just a little bit and forward a little bit. There we go. Just so we can see it a little bit better. Alright, so that's the first layer on the lips, and we're going to go to the front view, and we're going to do this again. Again, we got to be super careful. And we can tweak all this later. I'm going to move that back a little bit like that. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to click on the edge, hit the Q key, And with our reference on, we're going to do one more. And this time, once we get that, this one's going to be pushed in. So this is really important that we push this one in. So that's selected. Let's make sure we don't have anything selected in the back of the model by accident. You can hit the 4 key. Whoops. You can hit the 4 key for wireframe just to make sure that you have the right thing selected. You don't have any other edge selected. And then we're going to go in here, and of course with the edge selected, go to Control E, which is extrude. And then from the what I'm going to do with this now is, let's go ahead and just move that down a little bit, because then again we're going to have problems with it crossing over. Okay, that's a problem. This is about as far as we need to go. Okay, because it hasn't crossed over yet. You can see that there. If I go any further, it will. So with that done, I'm going to hit the W key now, and in perspective mode, okay, I'm going to push it in. Okay, like this. I'm just going to go ahead and push that in. Okay, like that. And you can see how it goes in a little bit more than I really want, because I want fuller lips and stuff. So, but we're going in, and it's basically kind of following what we have, except that we need to move this up and move that down. So we're going to do this vertex per vertex. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, once I pushed it in, okay, and I'm going to go in here and start selecting these points. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and just start selecting these points and moving them up. Okay, and I'm probably going to move them up a little farther than I need to, and then we'll move them back once we get these moved up, so we get some fuller lips here. And we'll do the same thing with this. Again. Okay. There we go. So the lips are looking a little bit better. Again, this, we won't go down as far with that. And that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead. I'm going to put, you can see from the front view, let's go in here and see what we have as far as the as far as it lining up properly. So I'm going to go in there and just kind of select these. You can see that maybe I've gone too far with that, so just pull that back a little bit, and this one is way too far back, so pull that up, bring that down. Alright, so we should be just about good to go, and that looks pretty good. And even if I turn that off, I can hit the 3 key, kind of see what we got so far with that. That looks really good, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so 1 key again. And what we're going to do now with the nose, we're going to make the nasal cavity. And so this one's fairly easy. We're going to go ahead and double click this around. And we're going to go ahead and Control E again. And just move that up. Whoops, something happened there. Oh yeah. Gotta get the green arrow here, click that and move that up. There we go. And I'm gonna move it up just a little bit. Okay. And what we're gonna do then, we're gonna extrude it one more time. Okay. And Control E, and then we're gonna go ahead and close this comb. Click on one of these cubes and just use the center cube to kind of go in, and sometimes it doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control Z it back, and I'm going to hit the R key and then scale it in this way. Okay. All right. Okay, so that looks good. I'm happy with that. And what we can do now is we can go ahead and select these edges and collapse them. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this vertex here. I'm going to go to vertex mode and just move that vertex there. Okay, like that. And we're going to go ahead and move this vertex in like that. And what I'm going to do with this, and this was kind of lopsided, so let's go ahead and move that over like that. And I'm not too worried about the inside of the nose because you're not going to see that much. So what I'm going to do is to finish this off, I'm going to hit the Q key and just select one of these edges here, or I can select an edge here, doesn't matter, and this edge here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and Control E and just hit the W key and move that in a little bit like that. I'm going to right click over this and move these vertices around like this. Okay, so I can see them. I'm going to click off and click on this vertex here, hit the Q key, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the V key down and snap that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the W key and hold the V key down and snap that, and snap that, and snap that. You could use the target weld too, if you wanted to. And so with that done, what I can do with this now is I'm just going to weld these vertices all together. So you can see I'm marquee selecting, not just clicking on it, but marquee selecting it. And I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, and I'm going to go to Merge to Center. I'm going to do the same thing with this guy right here. Again, spacebar, merge to center, and then at this point I can hit the G key if I want to, and that will merge. Okay. Now, if you're not sure if you merge something, you can click on it, and then you can try to move that vertex. Now, marquee selecting will basically select all vertices. So if you want to see if you got them all, you're going to want to hit the Q key, click on it just once, and then move it, and it should show whether it's welded or not. Okay. So with that done, we've got the inside of the nose finished. And what we can do at this point now is we can go in there and move vertices around and continue, modeling. So, so what I'm going to do here is just kind of move those around and move those up, and it's really not doing what I want to do. But you just go in there and kind of manipulate that how you want it to look, and inside there I'm just going to move them up a little bit higher. And just kind of get it all set up. So I think that's okay. Let's go ahead and hit the 3 key for sure. There we go. And you can see we've got a nice nostril going up into the nose, and you can go farther up if you'd like. I don't think I need to. If I wanted to, I could. I could even extrude that up even farther if I wanted to, but that looks pretty good. Alright, so far so good. So we got the nasal cavity completed. If we need more, we can do that. Alright, now the next thing is that we're going to create an eyelid here. And to really do this properly, we're going to need to have an eye, just basically do a sphere, and bring that up. And it's pretty small. I'm going to go ahead and rotate that around, kind of give it an idea and placement. Yeah, let's go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. And you can see that I'm just going to place that in there. Just get an idea, just kind of an idea of what I need to do for that. eye, if I was going to place an eye in there. And it's a very big eye, so we've got to make sure we get that just right, because it's a big space we got to fill up, and bigger than usual for a stylistic character. Let's keep messing around here until we get that eye just right, and move it forward. If we need to move vertices, we can, but this kind of gives us an idea what we need to do to get that eye looking correct. Alright, so continue messing around until you get it just right. Alright, so the eyelid's pretty fleshy, so I think that's pretty good. We can move things around, and then if you find you need to do more, you can. Alright, so with the eye in there, it's just really simple geometry you put in there for now. And I'm going to move that forward just a little bit. I'm a little bit far behind there. Maybe we can move that forward a little bit. And there we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do with that is I should put that on a layer so it doesn't get in our way. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the eye and then click on a new layer and just have it on, but maybe reference it. So now I'm going to go in here to the face that I've got, and I'm going to go in here and let's go ahead and select that edge. Okay. I'm not too worried about crazy detail like a human eye. Again, this is a stylistic character, just like the ear. When we get into the ear, it's not going to be exactly, we're going to have the same form, obviously, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time adding all of those folds in the ear and creating a perfect human ear, because this is not going to be, this is humanistic, this is a stylistic character, and it follows good edge flow and muscle tone, and the thing is, but it is a stylistic character, so I don't expect that I'm going to model a tear duct. I'm going to model every single anatomy part of the eye, because we're not recreating a realistic human, we're creating a stylistic character. So there's a little more, there's a lot less involved, and a lot easier for you guys to follow. The ear would be a terrific, it's a very difficult part of the anatomy. If you guys want to do that on your own and model an ear as a test for yourself, go ahead. But for the character, we're going to keep it pretty simplistic. Okay, but we're still going to follow the anatomy of the ear, and we'll talk about that. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on the eyelid. Again, let's keep this simple. And the eyelid's pretty fleshy, and it helps us hide some of the discrepancies we have in the edges in here. So we're going to make that pretty thick. Let's go ahead and go and select your edge loop and do Control E. And let's go ahead and with the blue arrow, let's just move that in. And this time we're going to move that in, but we're going to also scale it as well. So we're going to scale that down a little bit, but this time instead of using this scale, okay, we're going to use this scale right here, which will scale, and I really don't like that, how that's scaling, because it's scaling from this point. So I'm going to go Control Z back. Okay, let's do this again, pull it in, and I'm going to hit the R key, okay, and now we're going to go ahead and scale this in a little bit like this, okay, and I'm going to move it back a little bit, and you notice that we're kind of covering all the bad aspects of the modeling, maybe that's too far away from the eye itself, the lid. So I'm going to go back again, and I'm going to extrude that back like that, and let's do this again, and we're going to bring it in just a little bit, but when we bring it in, we're going to bring it back again like this. Okay, so it looks kind of like that. Okay, now I don't like how this is, I don't mind that, but I don't really like how that is. That's kind of flat, and it doesn't really help. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the R key again and move those back like this. So I've got that coming down a little bit, that coming up a little bit, but I want to move this back. kind of where we had it. Alright, so let's bring that back a little bit more. There we go, that's good. Alright. And then I'll probably bring that up just a little bit. So we just want a little bit of an edge there. Okay, so now I'm going to do Control E again, and this time I'm going to hit the W key and just move that back. So that's the inner edge of the eye. Okay, like that. So we got some thickness there. And then we're going to do Control E. Okay, and this time we're not going to be able to see it very well, but we're going to scale that out. Okay, you can see that we're going out like that. It's going to come through. Okay, it's okay, come through. And then hit the W key and then move it back like that. So, and I'm going to go inside the head here and see what we got. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the eye. Let me go ahead and name that real quick. Okay, and now we're able to see the inside and how that actually looks. All right, so you can see that looks pretty good. And what that's going to do is just kind of cover all the aspects of it's not poor modeling, but just the fact that we got some fleshy area in here back there that goes back. Okay, so I'm going to hit the 3 key and kind of take a look at what we have and see if we got a good enough lid going on here. And I'm going to turn off wireframe on shade to just kind of get an idea what that looks like here. And I don't think that's thick enough right there. So what we can do is I'm going to hit the 1 key again. You can see we've got that thickness, but we're kind of losing it there a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I can add an edge loop that would help that. So I'm going to go back into selection mode and go back into edge loop and just add an edge loop right through here. And when I do the 3, you'll notice that it will hold that thickness a little bit better within that area there, and we get a nicer looking edge, a thicker looking edge on that. Okay, so that looks nice. I like that. And so that would be a lot easier to animate then. At that point we got those, we can move up. You can see that thickness there that we have. Okay, so that works, I think. Alright, so I'm going to go back to 1 key, and let's go ahead and open. And we can always continue to just kind of play with that a little bit if we want. But I think that looks pretty good. We got some nice thickness there, and let's take a look at what it looks like with the eye inside. Okay, and see if that works pretty good. So let's hit the 3 key, and yeah, I'm pretty happy because it's hiding all those spaces that we had before, and the eye's fitting in there really nicely. So yes, I'm happy with that. It looks good. Alright, cool. So that is as far as I'm going to go. Let's get back to 1 and go ahead and make sure you save your work. We've got the inside of the nose, the lips finished, and the eyelid. And the only thing I can think of is maybe adding the inside of the mouth, which is extremely easy to do. So let's go ahead and get that done, and then we'll have everything completely finished. So let's just select the edges for the inside of the mouth and go ahead and get those. Take your time, make sure you get everything, and make sure you don't select anything by accident that isn't part of the inside of the mouth. If you do, then you'll mess up your model. Just look on the back and just make sure everything's taken care of. And then we're going to go ahead and extrude that. So Control E, and we'll just hit the W key. We're just going to do that, hit the W key and move that back just a little bit, because we want to give the thickness of the lips just like we did with the eyes. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Control E, okay, and we're going to hit the W key again and move that back, and then we're going to go ahead, and this is where it gets a little trickier, is now that we got the thickness, now we need to add we need to kind of expand that up. So I hit the R key again. We're going to probably need to go in here and finesse things like this. Vertex right here needs to go down. So let's go ahead and move that down. And then this guy right here, that's insane. That doesn't look good. So let's move that down so we can spread that out a little bit more. And let's see, the edge of the mouth here, I can see that doesn't look real nice, and that needs to go up. So it's just kind of, we're just kind of moving things around like that. And that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I mean, there's things like this that could be moved up like that, and just kind of normalize this out a little bit. Again, I got to be careful what I'm selecting and not selecting anything on the mouth, because we got that looking pretty good, and I don't want to mess that up. And the back of the mouth looks pretty good. Alright, so that looks good. So now what we're going to do is continue that edge loop, okay? Which I love it when you go back into edge loop, it sees it right away, but otherwise you'd have to select everything. And we'll do another Control E, and then hit the W key, and then again, let's just move that back. And R key, and just kind of expand that out. So we have room for teeth if we want to add them. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up a little bit and bring that out a little bit. Now when I do that, though, unfortunately, it does this crazy thing. So when we do that, what we're probably going to have to do with the interior part of the mouth is that I'm going to have to select the vertices here, and let's go in here and select that one too as well. Go to the front view, and we're going to have to snap those back where we were, and we have to be in the front view for this. So you can see we've got a couple vertices. This one especially needs to be moved over. Now this one's going to be an issue too. Looks like that one's kind of poking out as well. Let's take a look. That one there. Let's see where that one is. And that one is in here. So I've got to move that over. Whoops. Move this over here like this. Just move it over a little bit farther over like that, and just move this guy over here, and then this one I'm going to snap. Okay, so I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to click on, make sure I got the grid snap on, and I'm just going to snap it over. Same thing with this guy right here, snap it over. Alright. So, alright, so now we're going to move this guy over a little bit. Whoops, turn grid snap off. Move it up. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And I'm going to click on here. Alright, great. Make sure I don't have anything else selected. Alright, great. And then what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to continue maybe on the side view here, and then make sure I don't have anything else selected. And I don't need a reference for all this stuff. Let's go in here and do an extrude, so Control E, right? Hit the W key. Actually, let's go ahead and hit the R key and expand it out, and then hit the W key and then move it back. So now we're creating the actual hole in the mouth. Doesn't need to be very big. Control E again, and move it back, W. There we go. Alright, so this will be the back of the mouth. You can see we're getting back there. And when I go to the perspective, I don't need a whole lot of space back here. And I'm going to continue doing that. Control E, move it back. And this time I'm going to rotate a little bit and move it down. Okay, like that. And then Control E. And I don't think you'd ever see this. And then rotate that a little bit. You can see that we can rotate that a little bit like that. And move it down. And I think we're far enough down that you're not going to show anything else. Now, the problem with animating, though, here's the problem with animating. We're probably going to want, it's awful close to the edges here, so if you move his head and you forget to paint the weights in here, that could be a really serious problem for you. So what I would suggest that you do is maybe pinch this in and pinch these in as you go back. So just move these vertices in as far as you can, so you won't run into these inside mouth pieces, causing issues later on when you're animating and moving, which we are going to do eventually. Alright, so let's go ahead and move that around. I think that's good enough. Okay, and from the front you can't see the back, and if you do, you can always move these down, which is easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and move these guys, see if I can get them all. So select all these here, and just go ahead and move these down, and just kind of almost like we're closing this off a little bit, and just move that down. There we go. We don't even have to finish this, and what I mean by that is finish it in a way that we don't have an open spot. Okay, so I'm going to move this down too as well. There we go. Move that over and down. So there we go. So that looks pretty good. Alright. Let's even these guys out. There we go. Alright, cool. And so the mouth opens all the way. Even if it opens all the way, you shouldn't have any issues or problems with that. So there's the inside of the mouth, and that's looking okay. We don't need to finish that off. Now there are programs that have a problem with open spaces. Some programs do. So you can go and do what I did before and just kind of close this off by extruding and connecting and until you get it finished. But right now I'm just going to leave it the way it is, so we can get moving on to the ear. So this is what we have so far. What I would suggest you do is make sure you select your object. And we have quite a bit of history on the object again, so let's go ahead and make sure you go into polymodeling on your shelf and click on delete history. Okay. Alright, save your work, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.